Hi, welcome to our Chaplains Chat. I'm Larry Crabtree, Chaplain with the St. Mary's County Sheriff's Office and the Maryland State Police.
And I'm Chaplain Charlie Wharton for the St. Mary's County Sheriff's Office. And Larry, we have been talking about chaplains and what we do and why we do it. Let's shift gears here a little bit and talk about what makes a good chaplain. You've seen some good ones. You probably have seen some that are not quite as good. What differentiates between the two?
I think that the difference that we're going to find between a good chaplain and one that's not so good has to do with time investment. I think there's a lot I could say, but the big one is it's the amount of time you really want to invest. Because 95% of chaplaincy is presence. It's just being there, connecting, spending time with the law enforcement, watching them do their jobs, going on their calls, sitting in the patrol car, talking about their dog, their kids, talking about sports activities. And then in those moments, there are those questions that come that are usually deep and meaningful, where they can share something that they're concerned about or a need that they might have or some insight or wisdom they're hoping to glean. And so to be a good chaplain, you're going to have to spend time with those that you're keeping your eyes on.
And I think that dovetails right into one thing that I wanted to make sure we talked about, and that's trust.
Yeah.
Because you have to be able to have trust. Law enforcement officers are by nature not necessarily trusting. A part of that comes with the job.
Yep.
Part of that comes with some of the personality that it's often in people that pursue this career. But if we're going to be trusted, we have to spend the time. We have to make that emotional investment in other people.
And to tag on that too, maybe for some new chaplains, as we talk about building trust, you have to realize that when you first start your chaplaincy, it's going to feel like you're on the outside and you're not accepted. Like when you go for a ride along, you show up at roll call, and the lieutenant asks, "Hey, who wants to take the chaplain?" And they all sit here and you hear crickets. You can't take offense to that. Remember, it's their office, so there's all kinds of equipment and their bags and their lunch and everything's sitting there, and they have to move all that. So that's one reason. But the other one is they just don't know you. And they kind of expect you to hit them on the forehead and say Jesus or some of those other things. So, but you know what? You just stick with it, and you allow them to see you, that you're faithful, that you're there, that you care, and those walls come down as that trust is built. And so I think that's an important thing to remember, anybody trying to get into this.
When it comes to that, there's two things that you add to that, not just availability, but also integrity. You have to be a person of integrity. They'll see right through it if you're not. And then secondly, confidentiality. Because when you are in their office and they share something with you, it has to stay there. You can't just be going out and saying, "Hey, old Deputy Smith here, guess what what she just told me about." You got to have those two key elements, or else it doesn't matter how much time that you try to spend, you're going to be blacklisted.
Yeah, and remember, a chaplain, I guess you might say, is kind of a soul of the agency. Remember, you're the chaplain of administration. The highest there are, you spend time with them, you interact with them, you care for them, as well as the most new rookie that comes out and just came out of academy. You're the chaplain to everyone. And I got to be honest, in all my years of chaplaincy, I've never had anybody try to use me in some way against another. They all realize that that's who we are. We're there for everybody, that we care about everybody, and confidentiality is a key. And they have to know that, you have to know that, and I've always seen it respected. I've never had anybody try to squeeze something out of me.
Is that because you tell them that going into it, and you have demonstrated that over the years? Again, we go back to talking about time invested. It's not going to just happen. They've got to see it.
That's it, and it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of hours. And I do tell them, by the way, some of our first conversations when somebody's new or it's your first experience interacting with them, I let them know, like, hey, first of all, you don't have to babysit me. I've been doing this for almost 3 decades, and It's our time. I just want to get to know you. I'm not keeping reports. There's nothing that goes back to any administration or commanders. I'm here as your vent, as a friend. We're building a relationship. So they kind of know that too. But you know what? They talk. So they'll be hearing from other deputy friends or police friends, and they're going to hear about the kind of person you are, and all of that gets built. So it takes time for that to happen.
And I think showing an interest in them by asking them questions about themselves, that becomes so vitally important.
Well, it's like any relationship. It's, again, you're building a relationship, you're asking about, and it doesn't have to be police related, it's just life related. Tell me about you. And they get to know who I am as we share together. And that's fun, too. I mean, that's an enjoyable time for me. Well, Troy, I think that gives a good synopsis of some of the key components of chaplaincy. So we'll talk a little bit more about what it means to be a chaplain in some upcoming segments. But until then, be strong
And be safe.